guys, welcome to our YouTube channel. This is Fred Oakman from PS This Is Awesome. I just wanted to talk real quick. I just finished Spider-Man Miles Morales and I did play it on the PS5. I have a couple things to say about this. I've been a gamer for a very long time. I am 39 years old now, so that makes me older than probably most people watching this video. I was a little kid when I got Atari. In fact, I was so young that my very first experience with video games, honestly, was this little weird computer thing that you could rent from the public library. And like there was a really long waiting line for it. And I remember getting it and it was just like games about learning. And like they were very, like when I say games about learning, they were really, I wish I knew the name of it. They were really rudimentary, next to zero graphics and just terrible looking video games. And they weren't even fun, but it was fun to have in the house. But then my family got a computer and it had some games on it, but they still didn't look very good. It might have been like a Commodore 64 or some sort of computer like that. I did have a friend who did have a computer that could play Prince of Persia, but prior to all of that, Atari came out. And like we're playing Pitfall, Joust, Pong. These are games that are like the notorious E.T. game. These are games that were just absolutely terrible to look at, but were the very beginning of console gaming. And what struck me really weird, I mean, Pac-Man was on there. I mean, take a look at this Pac-Man video I got online. It's ridiculous. Like this game is, I mean, it's cool, but I mean, it looks pretty bad. So to think that I probably was introduced to gaming when I was like 6 or 7 years old, perhaps. And every iteration of console gaming that came about, I was fortunate enough that I had some sort of system in my house. I believe it was Nintendo. And after Nintendo, I remember we would rent the cartridges from the local GameStop or the Zappers or wherever we could rent them. We would trade games. It was just awesome. We lived in an apartment complex and all these kids would have these games and we'd trade. We'd get Nintendo Power. That was the big thing. We'd all look through it. And after Nintendo, I really wanted Sega. I wanted a Sega Genesis, a Super Nintendo or Sega Genesis. And I really wanted Sega Genesis because I was a sucker for beat-em-up games. And I know that Final Fight was available on Super Nintendo, but Sega Genesis had Streets of Rage. So then that came to our house. And then after Sega Genesis, we ended up getting a Super Nintendo. And then after Super Nintendo, let me step it back. I mean, I had a Game Boy. So again, then a Game Boy Color. And then, so I've seen it all. Like being a young guy, a young kid, introduced to gaming at a very young age to be where I'm at now. I always thought it would be really interesting to like survive through like the industrial age where like there were no vehicles. Then all of a sudden there were like vehicles and planes and like all this stuff. It would just be such an interesting time. Well, you know, I'm living in that right now and you are too with video games. Like video games have been, the exponential growth of video games has been absolutely so interesting to me. And like I said, I just finished Miles Morales. I don't need to go any more into my story about how I started and where I'm at now, because clearly I have a PS5 in the house. I've done virtual reality gaming. So as an adult, an older adult who is really invested in gaming, I mean, we have a podcast, PS This Is Awesome, which is probably why you're watching this. We have a podcast every week, plug the show a little bit there, but my buddy Jake and I mean, I'm a little older than him, but we've seen a lot of iterations of gaming. It takes a little bit to surprise me. I finished Miles Morales, and I'm not going to lie, like I wrote it off as just being like another thing, the hype train. I talked about this in episode 163. And I just feel like the hype train kind of dissuaded me from even trying the game. And I know people are like, oh, you know, play it in performance mode because you want the 60 frames per second. Well, I played it in fidelity mode the whole game through, and it's a masterpiece. This game is so good. I'm gonna pull up a video here. You guys can look here. I'm like walking around and I'm looking at the reflections, and it was really just something that was absolutely interesting to me. And there are just things about this game that you don't realize unless there's some trickery going on. When you go into photo mode, in Spider-Man's eyes, you can see the reflection of the thing that Spider-Man's standing in front of if you zoom in and you bring in the field of view. Like, it's absolutely interesting to me. Because, like, for all intents and purpose, like, there's no reason for that to be running in the background of this game. Like, unless when you put it into photo mode, it just says, okay, snap, trigger, okay, let's make the environment reflect the way it should. But if it's actually in real time doing this kind of graphical processing while I'm playing the game, it's absolutely unbelievable. And I can't imagine that it's not, because the game looks fantastic. I wanted to share the video with you because I think, 2020 has been a rough year, and it may seem ridiculous to, like, talk about video games, and it's a hobby of ours. It's in the scheme of things, it means nothing, but a lot of people work very hard, and if you're a creative person, you're an art kind of person, you're an artsy kind of person, you can appreciate stuff like this, and you should appreciate stuff like this, because people work very hard to bring us the entertainment that we have today. And I know it's helped a lot of people out this past year. So that being said, I want to give a big kudos to Spider-Man Miles Morales, because this game, albeit kind of a shorter game, was exactly what I needed to play. And the story was very gripping, and the characters were so loving, and the voice acting was absolutely phenomenal. Whoever played Miles Morales, phenomenal job. Phenomenal voice acting job. So good. So unbelievably good. And you deserve the accolades that you've gotten. And I just thought that maybe I would just show some video of the way that this game looks on the PS5. Like, it's absolutely astounding thinking about where I started with video games and where we're at now. It just kind of blew my mind, and it was just something I really had to kind of like process. When I finished that game, I set the controller down and I just had to kind of process it. But anyways, like I said before, we're a podcast about video games. We're a little older, might offer a little bit different of a perspective on video games than the younger cats out there. But I would be very, very thrilled if you would subscribe to our channel here on YouTube, and if you would go give our podcast a listen. My buddy Jake and I have been doing it for 160 plus episodes now, to maybe a very small audience base, but we do it because we love it, and we believe in gaming, and it's had very positive impacts on both of our lives. Maybe a few negatives here and there where you can't peel me off the couch or whatever, but man, just, it's such an incredible medium. And at a certain point, we really need to start looking at video games as being, and I think we're pretty much there, but I think we need to start looking at video games as being an important medium for storytelling, for learning, for creating a better understanding. It can really bridge a lot. It's just, that game was phenomenal, and we've got many, many more like it. But for some reason, this game really hit me. It was really good. So I don't usually do videos like this, but I thought I would come down here and record this real quick and put this on here. And I hope you guys find something in the content that we make. And it means a lot that you've been with us for as long as you have, and it means a lot that you are still listening. So leave your comments below. I'd like to hear if you played Spider-Man Miles Morales, what you thought of it, what console you played it on. Did you play it on the PS4? You play it on the PS5? Did you play it in fidelity mode, or did you play it in performance mode, or graphical mode? I can't even talk now. My mind's just blown. This game was so good. So I can't wait for Jake to finish it up. I'm sure we'll talk more about it on the podcast. But until then, I just wanted to say thanks for being a friend, and thanks for tuning into our podcast. And Jake and I are going to continue to put out videos, podcasts, and I hope that you guys really find something in it. If we can just make your day a little bit better, then mission accomplished. So, all right, until next time, guys.